Hello, I'm David here to talk about, well, probably a bunch of things, depending what comes within my field of vision, but specifically I'm here to talk about Dave's Picks Volume, 2014 subscriptions. As you know, we always, right around the end of October every year, maybe early November, we put the next year's subscriptions on sale, which is to say you sign up now, or in the next, I guess, couple of weeks. Couple months, I'm not sure exactly what the timeline is, but you sign up and then you kind of pay once, and then over the next year or so, you're going to get 4 copies or 4 versions, 4 editions, volumes of Dave's Picks in the mail, and you don't have to pay attention and order them and things like that. They'll just show up, plus you get the bonus disc. We've done a couple great bonus discs. So looking back at 2012 and 2013, that's 1 through 4, and then 5 through 8. 8, of course, has just come out with Fox Theater, Atlanta, Georgia, 11/30/80. So if you kind of look at what we've done in the course of 4 separate releases during each of those years, I think great variety. I think some really, really strong Grateful Dead music. I really think some of the best stuff we've done, really. Well, I don't know. There's been some good stuff in the past, but certainly a consistently high level, I think. Really great stuff. And you might remember the first one we started with the first one of the subscriptions in 2012 was the Mosque in Richmond, Virginia in 1977. And then we started the subscriptions with number 5 in 2013 with the great show from UCLA, 11/17/73. Tremendous show. Bill Walton wrote those great notes for it. And this year we're going to start 2014 subscriptions with yet another, I think, great show. A show that, one of these shows that I really think should have come out a while ago, but it didn't. This show is given heavy consideration for Dave's Picks Volume 1, going back to 2012, the beginning of the series. So that's kind of what we've been thinking about this show for a long time, is kind of where we've been thinking about it. So what we have is Missoula, Montana, 5/14/74, the Grateful Dead's only trip ever to Montana. A great show, by the way, as you're about to find out if you subscribe, or I suggest you subscribe. As you've seen with a lot of them, we tend to sell quite a few subscriptions, so that by the time they actually do go on sale, there's really not that many left. Missoula, Montana, the 3rd show of the Wall of Sound. Wall of Sound debuted March 23rd, 1974 at the Cow Palace, and then they took 6 weeks off, I guess. I don't know if they took it off to tweak it or work on Mars Hotel. Whatever the case was, there was some working on Mars Hotel in March, April of 74. Then they started up in Reno on May 12th, 74, and apparently they blew out a lot of speakers at the Reno show. That was really the first touring show for the Wall of Sound, Cow Palace, right in Daly City, San Francisco, so it was kind of a hometown show. Reno was the first show where they'd taken the Wall of Sound on tour, and Wall of Sound, as we're all aware, was quite a beast to lug around the country. So they started up in Reno, and then they followed that up on May 14th with the show in Missoula, Montana, Adams Fieldhouse. I've seen pictures of it, some great looking photos of the inside of the Wall of Sound set up in a kind of a medium-sized college basketball gym. Probably, I think it's about 9,000 or 10,000, and I believe there was over 7,500 people at the show. Very well received, and you can kind of hear the crowd reaction. They were really into it. There's a lot of stuff going on. The show itself, and you know what, I'm actually going to do another one of these videos when this goes, if there's any left after subscriptions. I'll do another more in-depth video in a few months, I think, about this one. But nonetheless, I wanted to talk about this one now because it's really going to anchor our subscriptions, and kind of, it's the show I hope you pick up. So again, to avoid disappointment, get the subscriptions. And we'll also, in a minute, I'll talk about some other stuff we have planned for 2014. But the Missoula show, I don't even want to call it a typical show of 74 because it's quite atypical, but at the same time very typical. So first set, tremendous stuff. Open up with Bertha, sound mix. Remember, Wall of Sound, only been on the road now for a couple of days. Takes a little bit to get rolling, a couple seconds into Bertha, but then it really nails it. A couple highlights, I think, in the first set. Scarlet Begonias, the second ever version. They debuted at the Cow Palace on March 23rd. Dick's Picks Volume 24, if you're interested in that. And then they played it at this show as the second version. And it's really good. The jam coming out of it, you know, you think they'd been playing this and planning this for so long, because they end the kind of the body of Scarlet Begonias, and then they go into this great jam, very reminiscent of what they would do later in '74 with some of the bigger ones. There's one in Philadelphia that's on Dick's Picks Volume 31, that kind of Scarlet Begonias jam, but great. For the second ever version, it really kind of surprised me. And it then segs into It Must Have Been the Roses, and it is such a good version of Must Have Been the Roses. Very peppy. I think, you know, I've been listening to this show for many, many years, and a lot the last 2 years. Again, as I mentioned, this was given serious consideration for Dave's Picks Volume 1. But we went with the Mosque instead, so we're happy to bring this as Volume 9. But the Must Have Been the Roses has long been a favorite, if not my favorite, period. Really great one. Other great stuff in the first set. There's a great version of Deal. Tremendous Black-Throated Wind. Kudos to Keith on Black-Throated Wind, doing some great stuff with the keyboards. Incredible stuff. And then the first set caps off, as many shows did in 1974, with Playing in the Band. It's about 23 minutes long. It is one of the jazziest versions you're ever going to hear, and that's saying a lot. For 73, 74, you often hear the phrase, wow, they're really jazzy, they really had their jazz chops. This one in particular is incredibly jazzy. What Billy's doing on the drums, Phil and Bobby are doing some crazy stuff. Bobby's really great in this show, by the way, and he's good in the mix. It's a excellent mix show, recorded by Kid Candelario. Great work on that kid. And so the Playing in the Band, tremendous stuff, and really a precursor to what's going to happen in the second set in terms of jazz and deep space. So the second set opens up with a great rockin' version of U.S. Blues, and then other highlights. There's a terrific version of Road Jimmy at this show. I love Road Jimmy, but when it's really on, I really love Road Jimmy. This one is. And then the big second set jam. Great stuff. Weather Report Suite, one of my favorite versions of Weather Report Suite, and then one of the deepest, darkest Dark Stars you're ever going to hear from 73 and 74, and I say that in the best way possible. It's just such an enjoyable melodic Dark Star to start, and then they get into this incredible feedback space, like really one of the loudest feedback blasts, and not just like a zap of lead. It's a planned, a methodical, really deep feedback that just really can shake the foundations of your house. It's really a wild Dark Star that then goes back into this really nice melodic bit. It's a great one. You know, they only did Dark Star 5 times in 1974. Well, 6, although one of them didn't have vocals, so they call it a Dark Star jam. But nonetheless, call it 6 Dark Stars in all of 74. And 74 is widely known as one of those spacey years. And there's some great other ones and great playing in the bands. And Weather Report Suite often went into a great jam. But there's really not that many Dark Stars. 224 and this one. And there's one in Chicago, 725. One at Winterland. One in London, England, and then the jam one in June, and that's it for Dark Stars. And this one, to me, hands down, without a doubt, the deep spaciest one of them all. I think they were really taking advantage of the whole wall of sound thing. Great stuff. And then China Doll, beautiful version of China Doll, and then it wraps up with 3 great rockers. One of the best versions of Not Fade Away you're going to hear from 72 to 74. Bang on spot on Not Fade Away, into Going Down the Road Feeling Bad that ends the show, kind of a cool ending, and then an encore of One More Saturday Night. So again, tremendous show. But anyhow, I'm not really here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about subscriptions for 2014. So if you subscribe, I think, I don't know, you can check the website for this, but I think if you subscribe soon, you get a pretty good discount on the money side of things, and that's always good. We all like saving some bucks. And you also get the bonus disc. And again, we've done the bonus disc from Chicago in 74 for the first year, 2012. Then we did a bonus disc last year from, of course, December 69. So again, it's what we try to do with the bonus discs is something that's going to blow your mind and something that is going to stand up on its own, basically as its own live album. We don't really just kind of put bonus stuff out for the sake of filling up 80 minutes. We really put a lot of thought into this. So with number 10, whenever we get to number 10, which will come out in May of 2014, there will be a bonus disc accompanying that, a standalone, fully packaged, beautiful art bonus disc, and again, they're really good. So we don't know what number 10 is going to be. I have hinted and I've talked about it more openly, it's not even hinting, but we got a big batch of tapes returned to us in 2012, and we, Dave's Picks Volume 6 from St. Louis 70 and Fillmore Auditorium 69, that same batch, and we've got our ears, I was going to say eyes, we got our ears on one show in particular from that return batch from late 69, is all I'll say, because I don't want to get everybody too excited because we're not quite there yet, but I think we're going to get something out from that in 2014. We likely are. We've got some more news coming out pretty soon about another release we have from 1970 that has nothing to do with these tapes, but is a separate batch of tapes that has been returned. So we got some more 1970-71, whole nother story there, which we'll get into sometime, I think. Oh, that's a raven. And so we don't know what we're going to do, but we don't really plan too far ahead of the next one because we like to spend all our time listening rather than locking things in until they really need to be. So we're trying to really find that perfect blend that will, I think, represent the Dead well in 2014, as we did in 2013. We had a 73, a 69-70, a 78, and then an 80. So that's kind of what we like to try and do. Some good variety, three very distinct versions of the band, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at for 2014, we think. I don't know. I think you're going to like it. I highly recommend that you do subscribe again. They do sell out, and what happens is we sell X amount of subscriptions, whatever that number is. I don't really pay attention to the actual numbers, but I know it's a lot, so that by the time, and we've limited them to 13,000, actually in 2014 we're limiting to 14,000. So if you've seen a pattern there, it was 12,000, 13, 14,000. But nonetheless, we're going to sell whatever amount of subscriptions is. So by the time volume 9, 10, or 11, or 12 go on sale, there's going to be very few available, a la carte as we call them. So I don't know, to avoid disappointment, I just say get it. If you don't like that one, give it to a friend. Somebody's going to like it. I promise you that. Hopefully it's you. So there you go. And one quick thing, I know that we call these things Seaside chats. I just want to point something out. I don't know if you can see, I don't know if this is as dramatic for me as it is for you, but that's the a fog bank over the water. So I am seaside, except for this actually happens to be a fog bank. I'm on top of Mount Tamalpais, so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. So I'm just kind of standing atop Mount Tamalpais above the water, but so it is seaside, except for all you're seeing is a bunch of fog, so apologies. So once again, 2014, check out dead.net. They're going to sell fast, and I just don't want you to be disappointed because, hey, it's good music. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back in a couple months probably with more news on Volume 9, which is a show that's worth more than just a little talk. I should talk a lot about it. So thanks for listening, and go subscribe because there's good stuff coming up.